Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. It is Tuesday, the 7th of October. Thank you so much for joining me. Another cold front moving up and over the country, and in true spring style, the temperatures coming up over the week are down for a bit and then back up again. You can see on the satellite map very clearly the cold front moving here over the North Island as we recorded this morning. Thunderstorms out in the Tasman Sea between Taranaki, Waikato area in the coastal zone. Most of those thunderstorms fell apart, so for Auckland, squally showers came through this morning. Behind it, more squally showers with thunderstorms, maybe even some hail over around the west coast, and a dusting of snow for some of the alpine passes as a more wintry airflow comes in for the South Island. So on the air pressure map, going into this evening, you can see we've got two high pressure systems out here in the Tasman Sea. It's a little bit like when you open the egg and you've got a double yolk on the inside. So the high pressure system moving along here, that is likely to consolidate into one high north of the country. But between the Tasman high pressure zone and this gigantic storm or stormy area south of New Zealand, we've got the windy westerlies in between. So they'll turn stronger around Auckland and Coromandel Peninsula this afternoon. And then as we go through the next day or two, those high pressure systems move along. Now the storms to the south here, they remain well to the south of New Zealand, but I mean, that is a very large area of low pressure. Look at the size of Australia, compare it to just how large that low pressure zone is. So you can see it here on Wednesday, 948 hectopascals. I think this other one over here is about 950. So very low air pressure, and with a high right near us, now consolidated into one, that puts the squash zone right over the South Island. So windy westerlies are coming through. Now, as a result of it being west, in fact, even northwest, and because there's a subtropical and Australian component to that airflow, the polar boundary gets pushed southwards. So while this is a dramatic looking storm, and it is dramatic, I mean, it's a large system to the south of both New Zealand and Australia, most of that low air pressure is well south of us. So we are in the classic squash zone. In fact, we've got more high pressure over us than low pressure as we go into Wednesday. And by the way, the subtropical winds and the northwest winds out of Australia basically remove the frost risk over the days ahead. So there's a positive for those of you who don't want a frost in October. This doesn't produce frosty weather at all. So high pressure is north of us, subtropical winds being pulled down over the North Island, parts of the South Island, and if you don't have that, it's a nor'wester out of New South Wales or Queensland. So no matter how you look at it, Thursday's not a bad day from a temperature point of view, with more wet weather on the west coast and dry and windy for many of you in the east, especially from about Hawke's Bay southwards. By Friday, the windier weather moves further up the country as the high moves a little bit out to the east. Quite a powerful high, 1032, so it's getting stronger and bigger. That means it's pushing back all the way to Queensland. And so if you're hearing the discussion about La Nina, whether it's forming or not, until we see these highs disappear, La Nina is just not a thing in our part of the world. We are being dominated by those storms in the south, westerly winds coming through, and that is the most obvious weather pattern that we've got at the moment. So going into the weekend, windy weather around the country, windy northwesterlies, subtropical, a few showers coming in, maybe a bit heavy for the western side of New Zealand, dry or mainly dry for the eastern side with those temperatures up. But you can see the next balloon of cold air. And so by Sunday, while it's mild in the North Island with some showers again, the west coast is cloudy with showers, windy conditions over here in the east, might even be some wind warnings around this weekend. And because we've got stormy stuff just to the south, that's dredging up some of that colder air. So it's going to take until the weekend for all of that big storm south of us to move on through and us finally getting a cold part of it. And so our final map on Monday shows a big storm southeast of New Zealand, more low pressure south of Australia, the polar boundary sort of halfway over the South Island, so the west coast, Southland and Otago mostly underneath that, Canterbury kind of on the border. And if you're up into the North Island, you've still got a subtropical wind, or at least close to it. So it could be still fairly mild for those of you in the North Island. In other words, you're starting to feel a change of the seasons in the north, while the South Island's still very much holding on to the spring/winter weather pattern at the moment. That's all from me for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow, Wednesday, with our next New Zealand update.